Donald Trump apparently thinks it is really cute to pretend that he could be the next pope. So much so, he posted this AI image of himself as the pontiff, and doing it while the Vatican and the Catholic world are still in mourning. It is a move that any other politician or public figure would be vilified for. The Catholic bishops of New York State were not amused, saying, quote, "There is nothing clever or funny about this image, Mr. President. Do not mock us." The president was asked about the post at the White House earlier.
I had nothing to do with it. Somebody made up a picture of me dressed like the Pope, and they put it out on the internet. That's not me that did it. I have no idea where it came from. Somebody did it in fun. It's fine. Have to have a little fun.
A little fun. Again, any other public figure, politician would be vilified. The whole episode seems like another, though, in a long line of would-be contradictions or offenses that his religious supporters shrug off. Joining us now, New York Times columnist David French, and back with us, Doug Heye and Cornell Belcher. So, David, you're writing about the Christian right. I know that that's not Catholics, but you do have a line in here that I think is will help explain what's happening. And you say this: another way of putting it is that the religious right has divorced itself from historical Christian theology, but still holds its partisan beliefs with religious intensity. The religious fervor is there, Christian virtues or not, are not. Explain.
Yeah. Well, what you're seeing in the religious right supporting Trump is, where are you finding Christian virtues in the Trump movement right now? Where are you finding them? How do you see them? They're not there. They're just not there. But what is there is he's giving access to an awful lot of Christian conservative figures. And so they get access. They get to be in the room where it happens. So they're close to power and they love it. But they're not advancing any kind of Christian theology. They're not advancing any sort of Christian worldview. And this Pope situation is really indicative of what we're dealing with. We're dealing with nothing that's actual respectful to Catholicism at all. He's just playing around with it. He's joking with it.
So what do they believe?
Well,
what is the fervor?
The fervor is very anti-left. There's no question about this. This is where the tech right and the barstool right and the Christian right all join. They're very anti-left. But if you look at the historic positions of the Christian conservative movement, placing a high value on the pro-life movement, yet Trump had the most watered-down platform in generations, placing a high value in personal character. Read what Baptists said about character in politicians in the Clinton era. And all of that is just gone. It is now gone, and it's about power, and it's about opposing the left.
So it reminds me of the book that Tim Alberta wrote, trying to explain what happened to his church in an era of Trump. And one of the ways he does so is by saying that they believe that when the barbarians are at the gate, you need a barbarian to fight back against you. And what I'm getting from you is you don't really believe that the barbarians aren't, the traditional barbarians. It's just, I don't like the left.
Oh, it's very anti-left. I mean, look.
So Donald Trump wouldn't be a barbarian in this scenario.
Well, and think about how contrary this is to the example of Jesus, because Jesus comes to ancient Israel when it's under Roman occupation, where the people of Israel are deeply oppressed. And he doesn't come and overthrow the government. He doesn't come and rule in the way that these Christian right people want to rule. He comes in and he loves other people. He serves other people. And he even forgives the people who are executing him as they're executing him. And yet you look at this Christian right, the MAGA Christian right, it is will to power, it is cruelty, it is dominance. Look how they applaud as Trump is cruel to immigrants, just vicious, depriving them of their constitutional rights. Nothing about this is drawn from historic Christian theology.
So when Donald Trump says he could be the Messiah, I mean, does he have a point with his supporters?
Well, it's interesting when you see this collision between supporting Donald Trump and, say, a commitment to character, and they choose to support Donald Trump. It tells you what's most important, doesn't it? And so what Trump has done is he's exposed for an awful lot of people that a lot of the Christian right, the Christianity was a facade behind which was hidden this will to power, this desire to dominate. And so he's figured this out. And so when he lets these people into the Oval Office, when he lets them into the inner sanctum, he's giving them exactly what they truly wanted, which was the access to power.
So, Cornell, to bring you into this, that is a level of devotion that is hard to break with a policy. I mean, that's a devotion to not just one party now, one man, because Donald Trump is the Republican Party. When you're trying to find a way to to win against that. How do you win against a religious fervor that's embodied by one person?
You can't, and you don't. And look, I love David's writing here, but as someone who grew up in the South and you know, in and out of Southern churches and understanding the long history of what evangelical, you know, white evangelicalism has meant in the South, there is a tribal element to it, right? There absolutely, I would argue that there is absolutely a tribal element to it, and he is their tribal strongman that goes beyond that. And look, there's always been a tinge of nationalism in that piece as well. And look, he's overwhelmingly won white evangelicals in his last two elections. You know, in 2020, he overwhelmingly won them and lost. And the latest election, he overwhelmingly won them and got a plurality. This is a core group of voters who are not going to move away from Donald Trump because Democrats come up with a better economic policy, because they're not supporting him because of his economic policies. They support his economic policies because they support him.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And David, one other thing that you write about is just the struggle to figure out where the party came from and what the ultimate goal was. Not the party, the white evangelicals, and that the critics would say they were just there to protect segregation. There were racist roots, and people who didn't believe that said no, it really was about fundamental life issues, protecting life, protecting an unborn child, and social religious issues. Where are you on that now?
Well, look, where I am is I was mistaken. When I was growing up within the evangelical conservative movement, I believed the story we told ourselves, which was this is a movement deeply rooted in Christian values, concern and care for the vulnerable, deeply rooted in a commitment to Christian character and to Christian charity, kindness, gentleness, humility, virtues like this. And so when Donald Trump came down the escalator, I had the mistaken impression that we had strong antibodies against this kind of man. But instead, evangelicals often fell in line very willingly, very early on. And it turns out that a lot of the critics who are outside of the evangelical conservative movement saw it more clearly than I did inside it. They saw it as focused on power. They saw it as willing to compromise values. I did not see it that way.
But it wasn't just white evangelicals. I mean, it was the Republican Party who said there's no way that this guy can win. He's going after our veterans. That's anathema to GOP politics. So it was white evangelicals, but then it was also a lot of mainstream Republicans.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you know, it started in not just when he took the escalator ride down, but in previous incarnations when he would visit Iowa and things like that in 2012 or even before, where it was seen as a joke. But he had a message that ultimately sold to a lot of the party faithful, which was the game. This is all a game. It's all a con, and I understand it. And a lot of Republicans didn't want to hear that or didn't believe it. And so we were caught by surprise by it, caught absolutely flat-footed, no doubt. And the other thing is, though, we should remember, you know, church attendance is down. And so those people who've left the flock, whether that's Catholicism or not, they need a place to go.
They go to a Trump rally.
They've gone to, or they go to political rallies. And for a lot of them, that's Trump. And politics is a new religion in a way that it wasn't 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago.
All right. Smartest conversation of the day. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on this. I appreciate it. David, so good to see you in person.
Well,
nice
it's so
to
great
have
to
you
be
in
here.
studio.
Thank you.